Hi, everyone, and welcome to our speaker training for the 2020 Virtual National Assembly. I'm just going to let you know that we will be taking questions at the end of the presentation and training. So if you want to, and if you do have questions during it, please do pop them into the questions box, and we will get to as many of them as we can at the end of this. And this is being recorded, so you will get a recording of it should you want to go back and review it at the end. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to my colleague, Ryan. Ryan, take it away.
Good afternoon and welcome to the 2020 Virtual National Assembly Presenter Training. My name is Ryan Gleason and I am the Assistant Manager of Meetings at AOPA. I first want to thank you all for presenting at the 2020 Virtual National Assembly. Your participation will truly contribute to what already promises to be a very successful event. You should have received an email confirmation with details about registering for the event. If you haven't registered yet, please do so. In order to receive login credentials to present, you must first register. Once that is done, you will receive an email confirmation from the Pathable, our virtual experience provider. The email will come from noreply@pathable.com and will contain instructions on how to create your login credentials to access your virtual profile. Please be sure to check your spam folder just in case it ends up there. Myself and the AOPA staff and the Pathable team have been hard working at setting up the virtual experience platform, and we are both excited and confident you're going to find it easy to use, robust, and engaging. Today, we are joined by our consultants, Brittany Haar and Bethany Holland. They are going to walk us through the process of presenting through the Pathable platform. In addition to this training, you will also have the ability to take advantage of one-on-one support from AOPA staff. As Joy said, this training is being recorded and will be sent to you within the next couple of days. After Brittany and Bethany do the training, we will be taking your questions, but if questions come up later, please email me at rgleason@aopanet.org. I will now turn it over to Brittany and Bethany. Thank you for being with us today.
Hi, everybody, and thank you again for joining us. As Ryan mentioned, the invitation was sent out to everybody to access their profile, set up their login credentials, and be able to access the platform. So today we're going to start off just going into the navigation bar. Of course, right now we're showing the homepage, but by selecting the Schedule tab, you'll see Agenda and My Agenda, which are the two items we'll focus on. Starting with the agenda, you'll be able to see all of the sessions that will be presented during this year's conference. And then by going to My Agenda, you'll be able to view the specific sessions that you are speaking for. By selecting a key card, you'll be able to enter that particular session, and you'll be able to manage all the sessions that you are speaking for. You can view it in a full agenda like is showing right now, and then you can also view it within a calendar view. If you would prefer to export the agenda or print the agenda, you can do so by selecting these drop-down menus. And then you also have the ability to take notes throughout your time within the platform, and you would download them within this section. To enter the specific session of what you are speaking on, you'll select that key card, and you'll be redirected to this page. From there, you'll see the title of that specific session you are speaking for, any speaker or speakers that will be on this session, along with the description and identifiable keywords. You'll also see currently a countdown leading up to that specific session time, and a note just stating that that video will be available after the session has started. You'll also see some features below, starting with the chat, where you can engage with the attendees. So the speakers and the moderators will be able to communicate. So you can just type in anything that you're wanting to do, and then click send, and it would populate on this chat feature. The next feature that we have listed are the polls. So you will be able to view the polls here and also create polls on the back end, which I'll show you in a moment. But you can see the results that have been posted. Any of the attendees will also be able to submit their responses and change what they've already imported into here. As you can see, you can have multiple polls, so I will show you in just a little bit how to manage that. Selecting the People tab will show you all the people that have added this particular session to their own agenda. And then selecting the Files tab, attendees will be able to view any files that the speaker has uploaded to that session. At the top, you'll be able to see that this particular session has been added. And then where I was referring to the notes, any notes that you'd like to make internally, it would not be posted. It would only be private information. You would select the notes, enter any information you're wanting, and then again, it just outlines the information on how to download these notes at a later time. And then you would select Save to make sure that it would export to that information. Then selecting the Manage tab, you'll be able to access your files and manage what you've imported, or if you are wanting to import any new files, you would just select this Add New File. Selecting the polls is how you manage your poll. Again, you can add new polls by just selecting the icon. You can enter a friendly name, which would just be a name internally that you would note. This would not be displayed to any of the attendees. You can select from 3 different options on how you want your question presented within the poll. So you can choose multi-choice, free text entry, or a rating. And you can choose whether or not you would like to allow multiple responses. The question field is where you would enter your question that you have and want attendees to respond to. And then options is where you would enter what you want the attendees to select from. So you would simply type in your response, the color you want associated with it, and then add option. And you can do this for as many as you would like. And just again, click the color and then select add option. And then you can choose the poll chart type by either selecting pie chart or horizontal bar graph. And then how you want your results displayed by either the percentage format or counts. Next, you can choose how you want the attendees to read your vote submission button. So this can be completely customizable. And then you can choose whether or not you want to be able to only have the speakers view the poll results, or if you would like to hide the poll results from attendees until that session start time. So you would select the fields beside that if you wanted any of these options enabled. And then you would just select Create, and it would then show on the back end for you to manage. So you will be able to view the poll results either by bringing you back to that original page that we were just on, and then you can also see the full screen results. You're able to sort by moving down or moving up a particular poll. And then if you did need to edit that poll again, you would select Edit, and it would allow you to re-enter that information. And then you can also delete any poll that you've already imported into here. The final tab for this is the check-in tab. So here you can view some statistics. So it does list out your capacity, who has currently registered, the number that's currently registered. And then once the session has been live, you'll be able to see the number that's been checked in and checked out, along with the number of waitlisted attendees. To go back to that main page, you'll just select Back to Meeting Details. And this will bring you back to your session page. And again, you can click on that poll to see those additional polls that were added. So once the session is ready and to be live, there will be a different icon than what's currently showing. So it'll be listed where the countdown currently is. So attendees will be able to see this Join Meeting button. And then the video will be released, as you can see below. You'll have to select this play button, and then they will still have the chat and poll feature to the right of that video. The attendees do also have multiple views that they can view your presentation in. So by clicking theater mode, they'll be able to expand their video, or they can leave it as is, but the chat feature will still be enabled to the right. So there is a little bit of a difference for those that are presenting live presentations. The process will still be the same of accessing your particular agenda and then selecting that key card as well. The small difference on this main page is that it will say this live meeting hasn't started yet versus just the video. And then when you go to access your manage icon, you'll notice an additional tab stating live meeting. So this will allow, it'll provide additional details on what you need to do prior to your meeting. So it's good to know that about 20 minutes before your start time, you can go ahead and access your green room as a speaker. And that way you can test your audio, your maybe virtual background that you have set up, and making sure that everything is being presented the way that you're wanting it to be. About 1 minute before the start time, attendees will be able to join that webinar, but they will not see or hear you, the speaker or presentation, until you have selected broadcast, which we'll get to in a moment. And then 10 minutes after the end time, the meeting will automatically end. So when this session is ready to be live, again, you'll re-access that live meeting part, and you'll be entered into the Zoom where a broadcast button will be presented. So this will only be visible when you are in that session, and it will start the meeting if it is selected. So just ensure that when you hit that broadcast button that you are prepared. And then again, when the attendees go to view it, they will see that join meeting and be able to join your live broadcasted meeting. The next feature that we wanted to touch on is utilizing the Zoom feature and how to share your screen. So you will see the toolbar when you access the live meeting through Zoom, where you can mute yourself, you can start your own video, and you can manage your participants. And you're also able to share your screen. So when sharing your screen, you'll be prompted to select which screen you're wanting to share with everybody that is joining. And you'll have the ability to select these details on sharing your computer sound and optimizing your screen share for video clip. So if you do have a video clip, just ensure that these two options are enabled and then select share. When you also join in the Zoom, you'll automatically be defaulted as a host with a number. So just ensure that you select the 3 dots next to that name and then select rename to update your name within Zoom. The last item in regards to a live presentation is that the chat feature won't be directly available to the right as it is during a pre-recorded session. So what we recommend is toggling those two pages so that you have the chat feature page on one side of your screen, and then you have the Zoom access on the right side of the screen. That way you can still interact with your attendees while the presentation is going on. And all of these documentations have been sent over within your invitation so that you'll have full access to review this once you are navigating through the platform. And of course, this recording will be sent over. I will hand it back over so that we can go through the Q&As. And so just let me know if you have any questions.
Great. Hi, we do have some questions. Thank you for that, Brittany. And so I will answer these questions, and I'm sure, ask these questions rather, and I'm sure more questions might come in during it. So our first question is, how will participants know if the presentation is live or pre-recorded? And I believe that's directed towards my colleagues Ryan or Tina to answer.
Brittany, do you want to take that?
I believe the question is, okay, go ahead.
So when the attendees enter the room, if it's a recording, the video would be displayed on the screen and they would just click play on it.
Right, that question, I think the question might have been more directed for this, if the speaker is presenting live or pre-recorded, and I believe if the answer to that is that you have already been in contact to note if they were doing a live or a pre-recorded session.
Correct, yes.
Yes, and if somebody questions that, they should contact either Ryan or Tina.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And then several questions about this, about the time zone. What time zone will the sessions be listed, are the sessions listed in, and the time zone of the meeting?
So the time zones that are listed in the final program and on the websites are in Eastern. But when you enter the platform, it will be listed in your designated time zone. So just be in mind that the published time zone and those that are in the system will be different.
Thank you. Our next question is, will all attendees automatically be muted throughout the presentations?
Yes, for the live webinars, they will not be able to join you in the Zoom room and only watch the embedded live meeting on the session card that's currently shown on the shared screen right
now. Okay, the next question. Okay, sorry. Can speakers be in different locations for the live broadcast?
Yes, they can. As long as each individual has their own internet connection and laptop and webcam, they can be wherever they like.
Yes, correct. Thank you, Ryan. And also from Brittany and I, the event technologist, that speaker guide that was emailed out and your invitation, please ensure you read through that, as well as we did include system requirements to ensure that you have proper bandwidth and desktop or laptop computer. Please recommend it to use laptop or computer over your mobile device or your tablet. There's also a bandwidth speed test that has been provided to you that you may also test that prior to when the conference goes live.
Great, thank you, Bethany. Next question is, will speakers have to start their recorded presentation, or does the moderator of the session do that?
The live presentations, the webinar with the broadcast button, as soon as the broadcast button is hit, it will auto record. In regards to who presses the broadcast button, AOPA, Ryan and Tina, do we confirm if that will be the moderator or the speaker?
It will be the moderator.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And next question, is the chat feature also enabled for pre-recorded sessions?
Correct,
Yes.
Also included in that speaker guide that Brittany is scrolling through right now, there were the pre-recorded how to manage your chat. On that, it does show here exactly, even when your video is being enabled to be played, the chat box is to the right and you can still interact and communicate and answer Q&A with your users as they're watching your session.
Hey, Brittany and Bethany, this is Tina, and I would just like to add, so in addition to a speaker for each session, we also have a moderator, and then we'll have a staff helper / room monitor. So you won't be out there as the Lone Ranger at any time.
Okay, next question. When do we get full access to these features specifically? So when can we go in and set up polls, et cetera?
You should have received your invite yesterday, and that adds access to the platform. So you'll be able to go to My Agenda, look at the sessions, click into the session key card, click into Manage, and add your poll.
Great.
That's correct. And it came from that no dash reply. So just make sure to add it as your safe sender and check your spam. But that was sent out for you to have access.
Yes, that's correct. That was the next question. So yes, for those that did not receive that, check your spam. It came from that no reply at Pathable, and it was sent yesterday. And then if you happen to not receive it or can't seem to locate it, please do reach out to us, Ryan or Tina, and we'll get that to you again, because we do know you want to get in and get comfortable and get set up. Okay, the next question. Is it the speaker's preference whether it's determined live or pre-recorded?
So if I could answer that, this is Tina. So those decisions have pretty much been made. But if you want to make a change, we can do that, I believe. But all recordings that we have received have either been uploaded or we're in the process of uploading, because we're marrying up the moderator for recorded. We're marrying up the moderator script with the presentation.
And there's still some confusion. I'm getting a couple questions on, in a pre-recorded webinar, it's clear on the live webinar, but in a pre-recorded webinar, who's going to start the recording? But I believe it's the moderator will start the recording. Is that correct?
Pre-recorded has no live Zoom room. Scroll back up to a couple slides. Thank you, Brittany. Starting at 7. As you see here, there is nobody. It's going to prompt this to enable the join meeting. At the start time of the pre-recorded session, it'll automatically, the system will enable a join meeting. It is on the user to then join the meeting and watch the recording that has been posted for their viewing.
And this is the time where the presenter really and the moderator really, and the room monitor, who is a staff person, need to be there mostly to monitor the chat function, and to just report if there happened to be a technical problem.
Thank you, Tina. Yes. And then as you see in the screenshot, that chat, that's where you can welcome the attendees to your session, any information you want to give them, if there's a contact or additional website you'd like to share with them at that time, and you can post in there welcoming them to tuning in and watching your session.
Yeah. So, just to recap that, so if you have a pre-recorded session, you've been in communication with Ryan and you've received instructions on how to record, but if anyone needs assistance, we're happy to walk you through that, help you participate in the recording, whatever needs to be done. But once you send your recording in, or you upload it to the Dropbox that you've been given, there's really nothing else you need to do until it's presentation time, and then to monitor the chat function, because attendees have been instructed to submit their questions throughout the program, throughout the pre-recorded program.
Yes, thank you, Tina. The question that we've gotten a couple of. So what the role during a pre-recorded session of the speakers is to join and then participate in the live chat feature.
Correct.
Wonderful. The next question that we got is, can the Q&As and chats be, will they and can they be exported and sent to speakers at the conclusion of the sessions?
So Bethany,
AOPA and us do have access to the chats. Tina and Ryan and our team will connect and get back with response and proper process of how we will be handling that.
Great, so we'll follow up our one. And I hate to do this again, but I think there's still some confusion. I've gotten several more questions. So on a pre-recorded session, no one, the participants will hit play themselves. It's not the speaker or the moderator that is starting the pre-recorded sessions.
That's
Correct.
correct.
So what's showing on the screen right now is how the attendees will view when they access that session at the start time. So they'll just have to select join meeting, which would then prompt that video to come up for their own selves. And then they would just have to select play.
And you will have this same view as the speaker as well. You don't need to worry about the live screenshots and training that Brittany went through. This is what you'll see as well as the speaker, and there's nothing else you need to prompt or enable, and just be there to welcome the attendees to join your session and watch it.
Great. And then the follow on to the availability of the polls, functions, etc. Somebody said that they logged in today, and the polls are available. And then, but the options to upload materials, they didn't see that. Will that be available later on?
Are they not able to view the manage button? Is that what they're saying?
Maybe that's where they look. So it looks like if you're trying to upload documents in your session, there's a button that you need to hit manage to then follow through with that. Is that correct, Brittany?
Right, and so the speakers would have that manage button. So it may be, if it's a moderator, they wouldn't necessarily have access to do that. So if it's the speaker, they should be able to go in, select manage, and then that's where they can upload the file. So if it's a particular individual, we can look at it on the back end as well.
Yeah.
And they can email Ryan Gleason at aopanet.org with their materials if they'd like assistance with uploading. I'm happy to get them squared away.
Hey, Brittany and Bethany, I think it would be helpful if we went back through the steps just as a 1, 2, 3 for people to how to access their session and upload documents. And also, you know, so for example, when they go in and hit agenda and then they hit my agenda, will the system, you're saying, automatically knows that they're a presenter for that session? And so that session will pop up under my agenda. That's correct?
That's correct.
Right. Mm-hmm. So if they're speaking for that session, it will show under schedule and then just selecting my agenda. And then all of those individual sessions will show here. So then when you're wanting to access that, you would select in that key card, which will bring you into that session that you've selected, which is where you can manage the information, the chat, polls, and people, along with your files. And then again, for the pre-recorded, you would see that join meeting. And then the video would be displayed here. And they would be able to toggle, they would have, for the pre-recorded, they would have the video and the chat side by side, and then the live is when they would toggle the two screens.
But then just to confirm whether your session is pre-recorded or it's live, right now you should have this functionality to go in and upload handouts, create a poll.
That's correct. So they would select the manage button, which will bring them to the back end where they can add those files, selecting the polls tab, and they can add that new poll and adjust any active polls that they do have. And again, this check-in feature is more statistical for when the event is live, but they can still see, you know, that capacity and registered number right now. And then to go back, you'll just select that back to meeting details and you'll go back into that key card.
Okay, I'm seeing several email and several people. I see several of you indicating that you don't have access to certain things. So maybe what we'll do is we'll pull this and circle back with you all individually. So we're not ignoring your questions. We'll look into that. Next question. If the session is pre-recorded, is it in Zoom or GoToWebinar?
Neither. It's going to be, was sent as an MP4 file and loaded. So it's just going to play as a video and not within any other player. It'll just be embedded and playing within the platform.
Great. Follow on to that question. If an attendee were to join a session after it's scheduled to start, are they still able to start that session after when they join?
Yeah, pre-recorded will be available to continually play, as well as a live webinar will be recorded and then published as a video to play. The users/attendees will be able to go back to those sessions and rewatch any of them on their own time at any moment.
Okay. And then I believe this question will be by Ryan and Tina. Someone is asking if they need to amend a pre-recorded video. What should they do? Can they re-upload it to the Dropbox?
Yes, they can re-upload it to the Dropbox and then just send me a notification that they're doing that, and I'll arrange everything for them.
Great. Let's see. Okay, there's a lot of questions about the chat function, and that's all non-verbal questions, right? It's all typed in through the chat function.
Yes, that's correct.
There will be no live chat, regardless if a pre-recorded session or the live webinar. The attendees will still see the same view and just the chat here. They're not able to talk to you. Mm-hmm.
Perfect, thank you. I guess someone's asking about the possibility of doing some of this, specifically the chat function on their smartphone. Their co-presenter apparently might be traveling that day and wanted to know if they can log in via their smartphone to do the live chat.
On the system requirements specs that Brittany and I shared, it should run, but again, we recommend not to. But if that's the only accessibility at that time, it should load, but no, there could present technical issues. We recommend using a laptop, but you'll be able to use the phone to get to the chat as well.
Okay. And then there's a question about asking if someone will be on hand during presentations to address any technical difficulties.
Yes, absolutely. So we think we have all bases covered. We will have someone helping just with technical difficulties, someone helping attendees. And then on the AOPA side, we will have, of course, our phones covered, our info at aopanet.org covered. The meeting staff will be, there to help. And then we also have another email, assembly@aopanet.org. And so we have made plans to cover all bases.
And then there's a couple questions for pre-recorded sessions, are we expecting speakers to be monitoring the chat throughout the assembly or just during their scheduled presentation times?
I would say primarily during their presentation time. However, Brittany, can you show them the speaker tab where attendees can connect?
And you're referring to searching for them?
Yes.
So if you go to the drop down where it says people and then select speakers, attendees can come to search for your information. They can filter it by if they wanted first name, last name, credentials, etc. And then of course this is listed alphabetically with the speaker name and any ribbons that are associated with you as well.
And then they can select the want to meet, button to interact with speakers. Can you show them that?
Right, yep. So once you select the person that you're wanting, the speaker that you're wanting to connect with, you can select want to meet. And it will add them to a want to meet list that you can find within your profile. So this would show for that particular attendee, and then they can track it within their account.
And also attendees might reach out to you and schedule a one-on-one meeting, or they can send you a message as shown here. Also, your profile, if you've logged in, you will see that if you're a speaker on a session, that session will also show with your speaker profile to let other, the attendees know what session you are a speaker on, and they can click and go to your session from there as well. And as Brittany's showing you now, that was an example of sending a message that attendees are able to. You can also send a message to another speaker. So speaker to speaker, you can send messages to each other, schedule one-on-ones, and as well as attendees can meet with speakers or attendees meet with attendees and do these same searchable options and networking opportunity during the conference.
So Brittany, one question for me is, so what is the best practices for speakers to monitor the chat? So during their session and a while afterward, or can you give us some direction on that?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
when prior to the session beginning, definitely going into the chat and welcoming the attendees to that particular session. And then of course, interacting with them throughout as they may have questions or comments that they just want to add. So definitely monitoring throughout. And then post event, post that session, they would still be able to communicate. Bethany, did you have something to add? I heard you chime in a little bit.
Yeah, if you'd like to, post something post-event to live there once the session, during that session live time, but then maybe if users are going back to watching it a couple weeks later, feel free if you want to post something in the chat so that when they're going back, they would see that message. If it was something you posted at the beginning, welcome for joining us. You may visit and find more information at this website or visit our files. Maybe after the session and the live virtual conference has happened, you can just send a message back in the chat just for when people go back to watch it again of any information you kind of want to catch their eye about as a speaker about your presentation that you had done.
Okay, thank you. Those are very good tips.
Additional question about moderating. There are some presenters left time for Q&A at the end, but now they understand that it'll just be done through the live chat. So they should just be doing the Q&A through the chat function and not expect, there might be questions at the end of their presentation, the live chat, but there won't be an actual verbal live Q&A.
Right, so that would be best to be managed via the chat feature. And again, if they wanted to schedule just one-on-one time to meet up, they could do that as well.
Okay. There was a question, how long will attendees and speakers be able to access the National Assembly? All content will be available 30 days post-assembly. And so then the follow-up question to that was, if the webinars remain for 30 days, how will the speakers be notified if something is posted in the chat?
There is no notification feature, so feel free to just check on the chat if there has been something posted back. Normally, through across all virtual conferences, really there's nothing most posted after the live interaction time frame from attendees is what we normally see, so you shouldn't have to worry about anything, but there's no notification that'll come to you.
So Bethany, this is Tina. So it sounds like if presenters aren't going to monitor the chat after their presentation, but they're still willing to interact with attendees, they can put something in the chat and just say, you know, if you have questions, you can contact me at blah, blah, you know, and put their email or something.
Sure, yeah, that's a if they'd like to, a recommendation as a speaker, if they'd like to.
Okay, similar to us on the same lines, so meeting requests, will they receive, attendees receive notification by email, text, or is it simply just through the Pathable event platform?
If the one-on-one meeting through that scheduled meeting, whether attendee, speaker to attendee, no matter which form, it will send a notification to the email address that is set up with the virtual platform profile account, as well as to the personal inbox within the account access of your conference website.
Okay, thank you. And then we have a question. Someone is an exhibitor and a speaker and currently only showing up as an exhibitor. Should they reach out to AOPA staff for that?
Yes, please. You can email me at rgleason@aopanet.org.
Great, thank you. I am not seeing any more questions. I'll pause for a second to see if any more come in. Again, I know some of you individually noted that you weren't seeing things on your profile, so we will follow up with those separately, but want to give a few seconds and see if any additional questions come in. All right, I'm not seeing any more questions. So Ryan, if you want to close us out.
Yeah, thank you, Brittany and Bethany, and thank all of you for participating today and in the National Assembly. Please be on the lookout for the recording of this session in the next couple of days. As always, please don't hesitate to reach out to me with any questions, and I hope you have a good rest of the day, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all virtually at the Assembly. Thank you again for your contributions.